What's up everybody, how's it going? It's Burke aka Dansgo8 here, and following up from the stream's first year anniversary bonanza yesterday, which was a awesome day, one of the best days I've ever had on YouTube, where we did the compilation video, which everyone thankfully really enjoyed. It was such a wonderful experience to see that with you guys, and we actually got Hedy Barres, the voice actress of Yuna, into the stream, and we got to chat with her for a little bit. So all in all, it was an absolutely fantastic day. And it also happened to coincide with what Square Enix were going to be announcing at E3 this year. So this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we saw at E3 regarding Final Fantasy, and just break that down for you guys based on what I'd seen, just in case anyone's missed what's been happening or they want to hear like my input on it and stuff like that. Let's talk about what we saw yesterday at the Square Enix E3 conference. So the biggest thing that came out of E3 this year with regards to Square Enix and Final Fantasy was, of course, the fact that we now have a release date for Final Fantasy VII, the remake. So on the 3rd of March 2020 is when the first part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake will be dropping. So during the conference there was a little bit of talk about this, and one thing that I caught was that Kitase mentioned that there's 2 Blu-ray discs worth of gameplay content in there. Now, based on what I've seen and the collector's editions that's available for the release and all that kind of stuff, the game that's coming out on the 3rd of March 2020 is a legit full-length game in which you're going to be able to get a full gameplay experience of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. But it's pretty clear to me that it's not going to be the entire story. So I think what we know for sure is that Disc 1, when it does come out in March, is basically going to be like Episode Midgar, and it's going to take place in Midgar for the entire game. I think we're not going to be on some bigger world map going to different towns and cities and all that kind of stuff. That's the impression that I got from it. Then I guess it can go one of 2 ways. Either it's more episodic than Kitase is making it sound, because he mentions 2 full Blu-ray discs, and obviously your logic tells you that that's basically, it's just a 2-part game. But my head is wondering how they're going to manage to fit the entire rest of the game onto a second disc, because based on the size of the world map and all the different towns there and all the different side quests and the story areas and all that kind of stuff, I'm just wondering how are they going to fit all of the remaining game onto the second disc that will come out. So if they're talking about 2 Blu-ray discs, I'm not sure how the second one works. So I don't know if it's more episodic than they're making it sound, so maybe there's going to be 3, 4 parts, maybe more parts. But what seems pretty clear so far is that the first disc is going to be Episode Midgar, and it's going to be like a big Episode Midgar. It's going to be basically a full-length game taking place in Midgar. That's the impression that I've got from this. So I'm sure we're going to get more information about this as time goes on, but for now we can all look forward to March 2020 as the official release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, at least for the first part. Of course, there's that small thing in the back of my mind about, I really hope that they don't delay this release date, but I mean it's 9 months into the future. As of now, I feel fairly confident that they're not going to kind of screw up on this date, and we really will get that game releasing at the right time. So I'm personally not too worried about that, but of course some people are like, well, I'm pretty sure it's going to get delayed, something's going to happen, but I'm remaining positive about it. I truly think that on the 3rd of March 2020, we will be getting our hands on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So aside from release information, we got more info about the actual gameplay, because for me personally, one of the things that was most important to me was the gameplay, because based on the teasers and stuff that we'd seen, of course the game looks the part, it looks really, really nice, it looks like a very legit modern day remake. I think the soundtrack will be good. I mean, because the original Final Fantasy VII soundtrack is so good, and I'm not the kind of person that I'm not the kind of person that expects it to sound exactly identical, and if they change things around slightly I'm going to get annoyed. I'm pretty much certain that, at least for me personally, that the remade soundtrack is going to be really, really good as well. I mean, I have faith in that. That's not a problem for me. So it's going to look the part, it's going to sound the part, but is it going to play the part? That was the biggest question I had based on everything I'd seen of the remake so far. And fortunately, that was something that they tackled in this conference, because I think it's a very important topic. Now, based on what I'd seen, I was if there's a spectrum of really, really not liking it to really hyped, I think it's going to be amazing for the gameplay, I was in the bottom half. I was not really super looking forward to the gameplay, because anyone who knows me knows that because I come from the Final Fantasy X background, I've not really been able to enjoy the more active kind of hacky battle systems of games like Final Fantasy 15, for example. So Final Fantasy 15 in terms of gameplay was probably my least favourite of the Final Fantasies I've played from 7 through to 15. So I'm more old school in that sense, and I'd love to have a game that was a bit more traditional and not like Final Fantasy 15. But based on what we'd seen up until now, it looked much closer to Final Fantasy 15 than it did to the old school. So, of course I understand why it needs to go that direction, but it was something that I personally wasn't super happy about. But what I saw in this conference was definitely pretty interesting because it approached it from an angle that I wasn't expecting to see, and it's something that definitely shows promise. So what we see is that we have a system where it looks very kind of high speed. You're pressing square to attack, a bit more hack and slashy at the start. But while you're doing that, you kind of build up basically an ATB gauge at the bottom. And once you reach a segment, then you are able to enter tactical mode, which basically kind of stops time, and it gives you the ability to choose specific moves that are going to be different from just like your basic sword swipes and all that kind of stuff. So of course for me that loves Final Fantasy X and comes from that turn-based background, the ATB background, that was something that looks really cool. And I think Square Enix are well aware that there's a lot of fans in the fan base that still really yearn for that old school Final Fantasy gameplay. And I think they've tried their best to come up with a hybrid system that will cater to players that like that faster pace, that just want to kind of more like hack and slash their way through the game, and those of us that want to have those tactical moments where we can stop, we can break the game down, we can think about things, we can strategize and all that kind of thing. So what I saw of that did look promising, and it's something that I need to be a bit more hands-on with to see how it's going to work, because we saw it in brief and we didn't get too much like in-depth on it, but just in terms of the concept and what they're trying to do with it, I think it definitely shows more promise than what I'd seen of the gameplay beforehand, so that is a good sign. In terms of what they showed of the gameplay, they showed a very early boss battle with Cloud and Barret, and based on what I'd seen, I mean, I had two observations. I think the first was that it looked pretty tough. Like, it lasted a fair few minutes, and there was like multiple stages, and they were using big moves, and they were doing this, they were doing that. It wasn't like it looked much more intense and difficult than I expected it to look. Maybe they made it drag out longer just because it's a trailer and they want to look cool and all that kind of stuff. But it looked more challenging than I expected, which was interesting. And the second thing was that this boss battle came after they talked about the tactical mode and how cool it was going to be to have a hybrid system. You can slow time, you can be strategic, all that stuff. But I would say I barely saw any of the tactical mode be used in that battle. I don't know if it's just because for that battle specifically it's just not a good idea or whatever, but what it does do is basically open up the door for people to play it differently. So there's a very good chance that when someone like me plays it and I see the tactical mode in action, I'm going to be wanting to use that quite a bit, because I'm going to mentally be wanting to play it like an old school Final Fantasy, even though it's a remake for the modern day. So when I do play this game for the channel in March 2020, you guys are likely going to be seeing that tactical mode be used probably more than some of the other playthroughs you're going to be seeing, because it definitely seems like my kind of thing. So that's the thing about this tactical mode. I don't know how much it's going to appeal to everybody, but the fact that it exists and the fact that they've tried their best to kind of give it a bit of an ATB turn-based system vibe with this kind of slowing down of time and being able to select moves is something that's definitely promising, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. They have a playable demo at E3 for all of the people there, and I have no doubt that they're going to be releasing this demo for the rest of us somewhere down the line. So we'll definitely have a chance to get hands-on with it and just see how all of this gameplay works. But I'm definitely more hyped about the gameplay than I was before. Of course, one of the major things that happened during this E3 reveal was that we finally got to see Tifa in action. Because of everything we'd seen so far, they'd kept Tifa under wraps. A lot of people want to see her in action because she's such an iconic and important character in Final Fantasy VII, and everyone was like, why have you not shown us Tifa yet? Finally, we got to see her. It was awesome. I think she looks great. And in terms of this battle system, obviously the more fluid modern day system that we have, the way that Tifa fights I think is very well suited to it. The gameplay snippets that we got of Tifa kicking ass I think was really good. So I think maybe people that didn't use Tifa as much in their first playthroughs might be more interested in using her in the remake, because I think her style suits it really well. So that's the deal for Final Fantasy VII Remake. We got the release date, we got some more gameplay information which I think was definitely useful and definitely interesting, and we got the Tifa reveal as well. So I think we couldn't really have asked for too much more than that. I guess if I really wanted to know more, I would have wanted to know how episodic is it? Is it truly just a two-parter, or is there going to be more to it, or how is that going to work? That's something I would have liked to have known. But just the fact that on the 3rd of March 2020 we are getting a full Blu-ray size Final Fantasy VII Remake game, that is good enough for me, and I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on that and playing it for you guys on the channel. Now, aside from the Final Fantasy VII Remake, if you would have asked me what do you think Square Enix might talk about, there was like a small lingering hope in my mind that they might tease something very, very small from a potential Final Fantasy 16 that would be coming in the future. The reason I say this is because, well, they wrapped up Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 14 is, well, the final part, like the final expansion of that is coming out soon, and they're already underway with Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and that now has a release date. I thought now might be the time where they slowly start to set their sights on the next mainline Final Fantasy 7 title in the future. But unfortunately that did not happen, so no Final Fantasy 16 news for us yet. But what we did get was something pretty cool for all of us Final Fantasy VIII fans out there, because the forgotten child of the Final Fantasy series has finally got a remaster coming. I'm not going to lie, when I was watching the conference and I saw the fact that it was an intro to Final Fantasy VIII, for a split second I was ready to like jump out of my seat, because I thought, holy shit, they're announcing a remake for Final Fantasy VIII at the same time that they're developing Final Fantasy VII Remake. I thought that was going to be absolute insanity. But no, I got a bit ahead of myself and it was just a remaster. But even this is fantastic news, and I'm pretty certain that over the last year or two, the fan reaction to the fact that Final Fantasy VIII has not gotten any remaster love from Square Enix has definitely influenced them in some way. All of the tweets about it, all of the memes about it, all of the videos made about it, I think Square Enix know that there is a big fan base out there that really want to play Final Fantasy VIII in a remastered way on modern day consoles and systems. So I think it's awesome that they finally took the time to get back into Final Fantasy VIII and hook everybody up with the remaster. So it's going to be coming on to like PS4 and Xbox and all that good stuff in the year 2019. We don't have an official release date, but it's going to be coming in the next 6 months, and that's absolutely great news. For me on the channel, in case anyone's wondering, because I've already played the Steam version with the quote-unquote enhanced graphics like last year, it's too recent for me. I personally have no intention of going back and playing Final Fantasy VIII right now. I'm going to be kind of looking forward to the new content that's coming. So I'm not going to be playing it on the channel, but I'm very happy for everybody that wants to play and that's going to have their chance to finally enjoy a remastered version of Final Fantasy VIII. So there you have it, guys. That is the latest news about Square Enix and what's happening in the world of Final Fantasy. Lots of great stuff to be looking forward to in the next year, and I cannot wait for March to arrive so we can get cracking with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So let me know your thoughts about everything you've heard in the comments. I'd love to discuss it with you guys, and I will see you soon for more content on the channel. Thank you for watching. Take care.